2, 1. Hey, it's Josh from Boston Sports Geek, and I'm joined by Kyle.
Straight cash, homie.
Chase.
I'm only here so I don't get fined.
And Ezra.
How's it going?
And we're going to talk about...
I have nothing to follow up on that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. And we're going to talk about the Chief Patrick Mahomes getting a gigantic contract extension. We're going to discuss it. So, let's get geeky. All right, so Kyle, why don't you kick us off? You did some looking into his contract. Tell us what it entails, and whatever you want to say.
All right, so I really think they're going to be fine even if they don't restructure. But if they restructure prior to the 7th season, his cap hit isn't disastrous until then. I was even checking today; it's like in the high 20s next year. This year, it's like nothing, but in the high 20s next year, then high 30s, then 40s for a few years until it jumps to 60 million. So they should be okay. And also the cap has grown by 10 million each of the past 7 years, and who's to say it won't continue to do that? So I honestly think by the time they get to a point where it's serious, the cap could have grown to where it's really minimal. And who knows really where quarterback contracts are going right now. What I do find is interesting is that there hasn't been a quarterback who's signed a 10-year deal that's fulfilled the entire contract. People have gotten close. People have been in the league 10 years later, but they haven't concluded that contract. So I think they'll be okay. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say with that, it's even longer, right? Because it's an extension, so he still has 2 years on his current deal. So it's a 12-year contract, really. He's with them for 12 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So like, Bledsoe was one, right? Bledsoe signed a 10-year deal with the Pats, and that didn't go so well for him, but it went great for the Pats, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
So here are some interesting things of note. The Chiefs were the 5th highest team, or the 5th lowest team with regards to the cap last year. So they had $22 million that they rolled over this year.
Wow.
And they won the Super Bowl last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty nice to go into.
So how much of that is because they drafted well, though? Because if you draft well, you're not paying in the free agency the experience market. So like when they draft Tyreek Hill, he costs a lot less to them until they restructure his contract next.
Yeah.
They drafted Mahomes, so he's cheaper until they obviously restructured this contract. You get all these people. I mean, you've been keeping Travis Kelce around for a while, so his contract's obviously cheaper than if you had to buy him out of the free agency market. It's like, how much of that is because they've drafted and maintained their players well versus, down the line in 3 years when they have to reach into that free agent pool to grab their next set of people.
Sure, and they might have to do that, but for now they've locked up with the Chris Jones contract. They've locked up the core of their team. So, and I have some stats here. This Field Yates had tweeted, and I'm just going to read from it. So Pat Mahomes had a 10-year extension. Chris Jones got 4 years, but they have 20 of their 22 Super Bowl starters returning. They have their entire coaching staff intact. 5 of their top 6 rushers, 8 of their 9 top receivers, 6 of their top 7 offensive linemen returned, and they just replaced their starting running back, where their running backs weren't great last year. Like, they had to sign LaShawn McCoy. They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year.
Hunt left,
right? They got better. And Hunt,
the Hunt thing didn't help them.
The Hunt thing didn't help them, but they're also really good with the cap. They do have an $8 million dead cap hit for Eric Berry that's coming off the books next year. But they'll probably save a little bit next year. They're going to be tight to the cap, but they're not going to be strapped.
It's going to be the same team, yeah.
It's going to be the same team, except Sammy Watkins. So Watkins is good. He's not great. Mm-hmm. His cap hit is $17 million. He's on a 1-year deal right now, which I don't know how that cap hit works because his deal was like $9 million, but he counts $17 million against the cap. Next year, if they win again, and they can say, look, we want to keep the team together, just work a team-friendly deal, that worked for the Patriots. Who knows whether it'll work for the Chiefs?
And
But
here's the thing, Sammy Watkins, there has actually been articles about interviews with him, and he said that he's like, at this point in my career, I don't need to go, out for the big money. If I'm in a situation where I can continue to win championships, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to stay in that situation, despite what my agents are pushing for.
yeah, and their defense, right, is just when Chris Jones returned, they didn't lose when he played a full game. So having Sammy Watkins and these people kind of buy into that team structure gives them probably, a 4 or 5 year window where they could win championships.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to have the same continued levels of success over 20 years like we saw the Patriots do. It's just not sustainable probably, but 5 years to win championships is pretty good.
Yeah, and especially with Patrick Mahomes is an insanely good talent at quarterback. He's smart. He has the arm talent. He has the accuracy. But then he still has the mobility for when his offensive line collapses around him, that he can carry that offense even in games where he didn't have his main threat in Tyreek Hill. They still had a good offense that was still very hard to defend against because he can put the ball just about anywhere on the field that he wants to. So.
Yep. Yeah, he's
nice points, guys.
Even left-handed, right?
Yeah. Left-handed across his body, no look, though that one was 50% success rate, but
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was just thinking when I first heard the contract, I was just like
blown away.
I was blown away that they would make that deal.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I started actually looking at the contract, looking at what they were getting for the contract, as Kyle said, it doesn't really the money doesn't start to get crazy till year 7. By that point, they could possibly restructure. These guys are doing that kind of stuff all the time now, restructuring deals. It has no opt-out clause for Mahomes, which is surprising that a quarterback would sign a deal that long and not put an opt-out clause. Yeah, he loves the team right now, but how many times have we seen that change really quickly? Really, really quickly, right? I mean, sometimes you'll see a guy who loves the team at the beginning of the season. Halfway through the season, he's like, "Get me out of here!" Yeah. And he's there for 12 years now. No opt-out clause. But unfortunately, in the NFL, the way that it's structured, a player can basically demand a trade, and it's going to happen pretty much all the time. Because a team doesn't want to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, especially when a quarterback, if the Chiefs were ever dumb enough to try and trade Mahomes, they will get a lot in exchange for him because the amount of teams out there who are still looking for, even though they've drafted rookie quarterbacks, who are still looking for a new franchise quarterback. If I were the Patriots, I would still give up a load of money for him. You give me the option to get a quarterback that can win those kind of games. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take the draft hit for the next 2-3 seasons.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that they just signed the best quarterback that is in the league right now. You can debate all day about the top 5 and the top 10 and all that stuff like that. But I don't think you're going to find many people that aren't going to say that Mahomes right now is the number 1 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Absolutely the number 1 quarterback. You've signed him long term. You have a pretty young team. And you have the chance to win now and the next 5 to 6, 7 years, probably, is if they play it smart. And then after that, it's going to come down to, these contracts are going to start to get really expensive. You're going to be spending a lot of money on a few guys. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to draft really smart. But, we've seen in the past that it doesn't always mean, like, having all this talent. They played really well last season. They won the Super Bowl, but that doesn't always carry over. Sometimes there's like a sophomore slump after a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, the Super Bowl slump hits hard. Look at how bad it did for the Eagles. I mean, they won a Super Bowl and then didn't make the playoffs.
The Rams were pretty bad too, right? They made the Super Bowl. And so
Falcons still haven't recovered from their playing in Super Bowl 50. Obviously, that's a hard loss to recover from for them, but...
Okay, but look back over the past few years, looking at the Chiefs, how many games, big games, have you thought they were going to come back in? Because they can just put up points. They could definitely
so many points.
But this is a team that, like, as a Patriots fan looking back, like, I was always scared of the Chiefs because 28-3, 33-3, 43-3, that is still too close for the Chiefs until the time hit zeros.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of quarterbacks who have put up 5,000-yard seasons, you can list on one hand. The number that have thrown 50 touchdowns in a season, you need 2 fingers. And then Pat Mahomes adds himself to that list, and he does it younger than anybody else. Sure, you have Brady and Peyton Manning, who are fantastic quarterbacks, and obviously Drew Brees has several of those 5,000-yard seasons all to himself. But when they were doing that, they were much older. They were in their prime rather than Pat Mahomes, who's still a kid.
Yeah.
That he's only going to get better. He's only going to get smarter, understand the playbook better, understand defenses better, and he's going to become more dangerous as a quarterback as he goes on. So his limit of putting up points is going to change from being 30 points down to being 60 points down. Like, as long as the team can stay around him.
In 2008, like, the joke with my friends was, like, for the Patriots, it was Tom and Bill meeting, somewhere in Foxborough, and it's just like, what's the game plan, coach? 50 points. Okay. Like, that's how I feel about the Chiefs right now. Like, it's just, what's the plan? Nobody can stop us.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
2008 was not a good year for the Patriots, Kyle. Just saying.
What's that?
2008 was... Oh, no. 2007 was the bad year. 2008 was a rough first start to the season, and then they took their stride.
07 was the finishing year. I'm just thinking 08 was the Super Bowl.
Right.
08 was the Super Bowl of the 07 season.
Yeah, 07 season was the season that they went undefeated.
Yeah,
but they lost
up until the last minute, and then 2008, Brady decided to not have an ACL anymore.
Right. So I guess I meant
against
to
the
say
Chiefs, by the way.
I think 08 because of the
Yeah.
Well, Bernard Pollard.
07 when Brady had Wes Welker and Randy Moss and Gronk and
that was a great
team. No Gronk.
No Gronk back then. When was Gronk?
He was I want to say 09.
Was he 9?
That he was drafted.
Whatever. Yeah, it felt like we had it because our offense just couldn't be stopped.
And Stallworth.
Yeah, I was so sad that year. That was like the most depressing Super Bowl I've ever watched.
Oh my goodness!
And I watched it for some reason with the Giants fan, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
But anyways, one of the things I want to say back on our topic of the Chiefs, this contract, is that, and it doesn't really, kind of falls a little out of what we're specifically talking about. I've never had faith in Andy Reid as a coach. Ever. He always seems like
he chokes.
No matter where he is, he chokes at the end. He never wins the big game, and it does worry me a little bit that he did win the big game, because now that could completely turn his legacy over. Right now that he's won a big game, that he could become, he could just go out there. But he's also an older coach, and I could just see him retiring at some point too. So I don't know. Like, and he's kind of been a journeyman coach. He's been around the league.
He's been around the league, but he's won with every team.
If I were a Chiefs fan, which I'm not, I don't have the faith in Andy Reid as I would in like a Belichick or.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like Mahomes is doing a lot of decision making in that team. I don't know if that's like necessarily true, but like I think he knows the team better than
I think he knows the offense better than, and that's why he's comfortable going with those trick plays, even the trusting yourself to know that, oh, this across the body thing is going to work, oh, this no look pass thing is going to work. That's not something as a coach you ever want to see. So the fact that Mahomes is willing to go outside of the box to take that on himself,
and especially as an old coach, do you think he's like, do the trick plays?
Okay, but
look at Bill.
You are. I mean, you're right. You are correct that Pat Mahomes does a lot of on the fly stuff on the field, and that's what he's good at. But he's also a very good quarterback. And Andy Reid is a good, especially offensive coach. It's hard in New England because let's face it, the level of Brady, Belichick, and even Belichick above the other coaches is just from here to here. I hate that you can't see my hands, here to here. But that doesn't mean Andy Reid is a bad coach. He's a good offensive coach. And one of the reasons that the Chiefs have done so well is they upgraded the coaching staff. Steve Spagnuolo was over there, and really coached up the defense because it was never an offensive problem. And Andy Reid has, Philly and everything. It was more of a problem with the Chiefs need to build their defense, and now they have that complete team.
Yeah. I think that definitely does kind of affect our viewpoint of like what is a good coach, because we have like arguably the best coach.
In the league of coaches.
Yeah.
Like when they were saying when Belichick retires, they probably rename like the Lombardi Trophy the Belichick Trophy.
I have a hard time seeing them rename a trophy after a coach, despite the fact that Belichick has more accolades and has been a better lifetime coach than Vince Lombardi was. I don't think they'll ever rename the Lombardi Trophy.
But they probably should. That's what I'm saying.
They probably should.
I agree. I think they should, but they probably won't.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add to that contract discussion?
They could just change the name of the Super Bowl ring to the Belichick ring.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. That's all I got.
He's got one for every finger, so
And
all right. So, what do you guys think? We're not Chiefs fans. We're Boston Sports.
That's where half is.
But
speak for yourself.
You're a Chiefs fan?
I mean, I love.
Thought you said you were a Patriots.
My mom grew up in Kansas. That's the one.
Oh,
so I like the Chiefs a lot, but I mean I am definitely a Patriots fan first and foremost.
That's why we allow you here. So, so what do you guys think? Did you think it's a good decision that they signed this long contract with Pat Mahomes? If just let us know in the comments. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks for watching, and go Pats.